In baseball's early days, home plate was a battlefield, raw, gritty, and intensely personal. With no rules to regulate the chaos, catchers stood like gladiators, armed with thin padding and sheer guts, while base runners charged like runaway trains, determined to seize the plate at any cost. Fans loved it, players dreaded it. Careers? They were just one collision away from disaster. But in 2011, a collision involving Buster Posey forced baseball to reckon with its own brutality. Losing one of its brightest stars for a season made it clear something had to change. By 2014, Rule 7.13, known as the Buster Posey Rule, was introduced. It outlawed intentional collisions and catchers blocking the plate without possession of the ball. For some, it was the death of baseball's rugged past. For others, it was a long overdue step towards player safety. But while the game evolved, the echoes of those iconic collisions, moments etched in history, remain. This video is a tribute to those fearless plays and the players who risked it all. And what better place to start than Pete Rose's legendary collision that left its mark on baseball forever. Pete Rose vs. Ray Fosse, 1970 All-Star Game. When it comes to baseball's old-school grit, few moments capture the raw essence of the game better than Pete Rose's thunderous collision with Ray Fosse during the 1970 All-Star Game. This wasn't just a play, it was a declaration of the win-at-all-cost mentality that defined an era. The stage was set for drama. A packed Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, the score locked at 4-4 in the 12th inning. As Jim Hickman's base shot into center field, Pete Rose rounded third base like a freight train on a mission. Waiting at the plate was Cleveland's rising star, Ray Fosse, bracing himself for the inevitable impact. What followed was as unforgettable as it was brutal. Rose plowed into Fosse with a force that could be felt through the stands. The collision left Fosse with a fractured and separated shoulder, an injury so severe it was initially misdiagnosed. It was a moment that derailed Fosse's promising career. For Fosse, it was a harsh reminder of the unforgiving nature of the sport, and for Rose, it was another step towards being a baseball immortal at any cost. That collision set the standard for baseball's gritty history. But decades later, in Game 5 of the 2013 ALCS, another set of bruising home plate battles captured the same intensity. Miguel Cabrera, David Ross, and Alex Avila, 2013 ALCS Game 5. Game 5 of the 2013 American League Championship Series was a heavyweight showdown between two juggernauts, the Boston Red Sox and the Detroit Tigers. But it wasn't towering home runs or dazzling strikeouts that stole the spotlight. It was the action at home plate. It started in the first inning when Detroit slugger Miguel Cabrera made a bold dash for home. The problem? Left fielder Johnny Gomez already had the ball in hand, and Cabrera was dead to rights halfway down the line. Desperate, Cabrera lowered his shoulder and slammed into Boston catcher David Ross, but Ross held firm, clinging to the ball as Cabrera was tagged out in a play that screamed, "Nice try, Miggy." But the collisions didn't end there. Just an inning later, the roles reversed. This time it was David Ross charging home, with Detroit catcher Alex Avila waiting to make the play. The throw came in, and Ross didn't hold back, barreling into Avila with a hit that was far harder than Cabrera's earlier attempt. Avila absorbed the blow and managed the tag, but he paid the price. Already bruised and battered from foul balls and wild pitches earlier in the game, Avila left the field limping, his strained patella tendon adding to a long list of injuries. The irony? Both Ross and Avila were catchers, both with a history of concussions. Perhaps, recognizing the shared soul of their position, Ross patted Avila on the leg as he hobbled off, offering a rare amount of sportsmanship amidst the chaos. If those hits weren't intense enough, the rivalry between the Cubs and White Sox in 2006 took home plate collisions to another level, when bodies weren't the only things flying, but fists too. Michael Barrett vs. A.J. Pierzynski, 2006. Few rivalries in baseball are as heated as the fight for Chicago supremacy between the Cubs and White Sox, and on the 20th of May 2006, that rivalry reached its boiling point. It started, innocently enough, in the bottom of the second inning at U.S. Cellular Field. With A.J. Pierzynski on third base and Brian Anderson at the plate, Anderson hit a routine fly ball to left field. Pierzynski tagged up and raced home. Cubs left fielder Matt Merton's throw reached catcher Michael Barrett in time, setting the stage for a collision. Pierzynski, known for his aggressive play and knack of stirring the pot, crashed into Barrett with a force that knocked the catcher off balance. But it wasn't the collision that stole the spotlight. After emphatically slamming his hand on home plate to signal his score, Pierzynski rose and began walking toward the dugout. Barrett, still fuming, intercepted him, grabbed his jersey, and delivered a punch that landed square on Pierzynski's jaw. What followed was pandemonium. Both benches cleared, and the field devolved into chaos as players from both teams traded blows. Fans roared in approval as the melee unfolded in dramatic fashion. Pierzynski, ever the instigator, returned to his dugout with a grin, high-fiving his teammates and pumping up the crowd. Barrett, meanwhile, was ejected, fined, and suspended for 10 games. The White Sox used the fiery energy to cruise to a 7-0 victory, cementing yet another chapter in the intense Cubs-White Sox rivalry. That brawl may have defined Chicago's rivalry, but not all collisions end with punches. In 2011, Matt Trainer found himself in a collision that left him bloodied. Matt Trainer vs. Matt Laporta, 2011. Some home plate collisions are unforgettable for their sheer force, others for their aftermath. The clash between Matt Trainer of the Royals and Matt Laporta of the Indians in 2011 had both. It started with what seemed like a routine sacrifice fly to left fielder Alex Gordon. Laporta tagged up at third base and charged toward home, a runaway freight train with no intention of slowing down. Gordon, with his trademark cannon arm, fired a perfect one-hop throw to Matt Trainer at the plate. Trainer caught the ball cleanly and braced for the tag, but Laporta had other plans. Rather than sliding, he lowered his shoulder and plowed into Trainer with the force of a linebacker. The impact was brutal, catching Trainer square in the face and sending him sprawling into the dirt. The aftermath left fans holding their breath. Trainer lay motionless, his face pressed against the ground, as silence fell over the stadium. Umpire Laz Diaz immediately called Laporta out, but no one was celebrating. Royals pitcher Felipe Paulino called time, summoning trainers to Trainer's side. Blood streaked down the catcher's face as they worked to stabilize him. In true baseball fashion, Trainer managed to walk off the field under his own power, bloodied but defiant. Backup catcher Brian Pena stepped in, but the scene left an indelible mark, a reminder of the risks players face to defend the home plate. Just 2 years later, the Phillies' Chase Utley and the Cubs' Dioner Navarro provided their own unforgettable bruising moment at the plate. Dioner Navarro vs. Chase Utley, 2013. Some collisions leave fans breathless in horror, and Chase Utley's clash with Cubs catcher Dioner Navarro in 2013 was one of those moments. It started with Utley on second base, waiting for an opportunity to score. Phillies batter Kevin Franson delivered a sharp single into right field, and Cubs outfielder Cole Giuseppe fielded it cleanly, unleashing a perfect throw to Navarro at home plate. The timing was flawless. Navarro caught the ball in stride and squared up to block the plate, but Utley wasn't stopping. Charging full speed, he made a desperate half-slide, half-body check in an attempt to dislodge the ball. The impact was violent, sending Navarro sprawling as his leg bent awkwardly beneath him. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Navarro stayed down, clutching his leg in pain. Yet despite the brutal hits, he never let go of the ball. Utley was called out, but the sight of Navarro writhing on the ground left players and fans shaken. Trainers rushed to Navarro's aid, eventually helping him onto a cart as the stadium watched in silence. X-rays later revealed a contusion, painful but not season-ending, sparing Navarro from a worse fate. While Navarro walked away with only bruises, some collisions carry the weight of postseason glory. For Ivan Rodriguez and JT Snow, their collision in the 2003 NLDS became one of the most iconic playoff moments in MLB history. Ivan Rodriguez vs. JT Snow, 2003 NLDS. Home plate collisions often put the base runner in the spotlight, but in Game 4 of the 2003 National League Division Series, it was the catcher Ivan Pudge Rodriguez who stole the show. The Florida Marlins were clinging to a razor-thin 7-6 lead over the San Francisco Giants, just 1 out away from advancing to the NLCS. With 2 outs in the 9th inning, the tying run stood on second base. JT Snow, a veteran player, determined to make something happen. Then came the moment. Jeffrey Hammonds drilled a single to left field, and Snow took off, rounding third with everything he had. The ball rocketed toward home, and Rodriguez positioned himself perfectly, his gear gleaming under the stadium lights as he braced for impact. Snow had no choice but to go all in. Lowering his shoulder, he slammed into Rodriguez with everything he had, a collision that echoed through the ballpark. But Pudge stood firm. He absorbed the hits, clutched the ball, and refused to let go. The umpire's arm shot up. Snow was out. The Marlins erupted in celebration, storming Rodriguez at home plate as he held the ball high, a triumphant symbol of his unyielding determination. If grit defined Ivan Rodriguez, then sheer power was Brian Jordan's calling card. Brian Jordan vs. Gary Bennett, 2003. A former NFL player turned MLB star, Jordan brought linebacker-level intensity to the diamond. So, when he rounded third base in a pivotal game between the Atlanta Braves and the San Diego Padres, there was no hesitation in his approach. Go through, not around. Standing in his way was Gary Bennett, the Padres' backup catcher. Though not a marquee name, Bennett was a grinder, the kind of player who lived for moments like this, guarding the plate with everything he had. But he wasn't ready for the freight train bearing down on him. As the throw came in, Bennett squared up, bracing for impact. Jordan, running at full throttle, collided with Bennett with a force that echoed through the stadium. The ball flew loose as both players tumbled to the ground. Jordan scrambled to touch home safely, while Bennett lay motionless in the dirt, clearly rattled. Trainers rushed out as the crowd murmured in concern. Bennett managed to walk off under his own power, but was sidelined for 15 days with the injuries he sustained. For Jordan, it was another highlight in a career defined by toughness. For Bennett, it was a bruising experience, literally and figuratively. Jordan's strength embodied the old-school game, but no collision left a bigger mark on baseball history or its rulebook than what happened in 2011. Buster Posey vs. Scott Cousins, 2011. It was supposed to be an ordinary night, a regular season matchup between the Florida Marlins and the San Francisco Giants. But in the 12th inning, the game and baseball changed forever. With the score tied and the winning run on third base, Emilio Bonifacio lifted a fly ball to right field. Nate Shearholtz, the Giants' right fielder, made the catch and launched a rocket throw home. Waiting at the plate was Buster Posey, the Giants' superstar catcher. Just 1 year removed from winning Rookie of the Year and leading San Francisco to a World Series title, Posey was already a franchise icon. Charging down the line was Scott Cousins, a little-known Marlins outfielder with everything to prove. As the throw came in, Posey shifted slightly, unable to secure the ball cleanly. Cousins seized the opportunity and veered toward Posey, launching into him with brutal force. The collision was devastating. Posey crumpled to the ground, clutching his leg, his face contorted in agony, as fans and players alike watched in stunned silence. He had to be carried off the field. His season was over. The diagnosis? A fractured leg and a torn ligament in his ankle, a catastrophic injury for one of the league's brightest stars. The incident ignited a firestorm of debate. Some defended Cousins, arguing he played within the rules. Others saw the collision as reckless and unnecessary. But the league took notice. Just 3 years later, MLB introduced Rule 7.13, commonly known as the Buster Posey Rule, banning home plate collisions to protect both runners and catchers. Though the dust has settled and the rules have changed, the echoes of those collisions remain a powerful part of baseball lore. So, what's your take? Did the rule save the game from itself, or did it strip away a part of its soul? Let us know in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more baseball content. Like this video if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.